Hey guys, welcome to the channel. And today's show it's basically like we're going to be in the Twilight Zone today because this is just weird. Like, why is it that this world is so weird? We're going to start off the show today with more Wonder Twins weirdness. Now, who are the Wonder Twins? Well, they're the germaphobe, fist-bumping, shape-shifting twins that were born during a spamdemic. We covered this on yesterday's show. They fist bump, which is what everyone's doing right now. They were born during a spamdemic on their planet. We're going to talk about their planet today because it's kind of creepy what's going on with their planet. And we remember the other twins, the twin buildings that shapeshifted, just like the Wonder Twins did, from steel to dust right before our eyes. Well, remember the twins made their debut on the Super Friends the day before Blind 11 in 1977, on September 10th, 1977. And the episode was all about a pair of teen boys who skyjacked an airplane. Here they are right here. This is the very first episode in which the Wonder Twins appeared. They skyjacked an airplane, and here you see them knocking over the twins. They flew into the twins. And the episode was called Joyride. Now, I need to clarify some things from yesterday's show, because, we want to be accurate in our reporting here. Because in yesterday's show, we were showing what we thought was this first episode, but it was actually from Adult Swim. And what Adult Swim does is they take old vintage episodes and films and they put them together in montages to make it funny. And they put words in their mouth. So apparently the episode I showed you yesterday was from a couple different episodes. Now, the Wonder Twins did hang out at Pete's ping pong parlor, as you see here. But that was not in the debut episode that we showed you yesterday. It came in later episodes. Also, there's a part where Jaina says balls to the wall, and I don't think she really said that in the original episode as well. It was inserted, because this is what Adult Swim does. Now, here's the problem, because this ping pong place was their favorite place to hang out at, Pete's Ping Pong Parlor, is that ping pong is code for acts with children. And we saw in the film Lolita, the opening shots were them playing ping pong, and this is why they put this scene in the film. Now here's what happens. When the act occurs, trauma ensues, and the mind splits or disassociates into twins, which brings us right back to the Wonder Twins. Now you're starting to understand how sick all this is. Now, here's actually how the episode went. This is the debut episode. I'm going to do it from start to finish. These are screenshots from the Joyride. The Joyride, get it? Ping pong. So, here's the Wonder Twins, and it's clearly showing foreshadowings of the twin buildings being brought down by skyjackers. Because remember, these two boys skyjacked the airplane, and I'm saying that differently because you can't say that word anymore. And it says, the mischievous pair uses the airplane to scare local beachgoers, the Wonder Twins, who are surfing in the ocean. So it knocks the twins over, as you can see here. Can't make this up. 1977, on September 10th, is when this aired. And then Jaina makes her first TV appearance, the Super Friends. She can morph into any animal. She turns into a bald eagle. Zan makes his first appearance. He can take the form of water into all of its states. So again, they're shapeshifters. And then they fly up to these twin boys who skyjack the airplane, and they basically save them. They refuse to listen at first. Then she turns into a pterodactyl, another T. The engine stalls and the airplane goes into free fall because the airplane had engine problems. So the plane is taken over by an outside force. Remember all the theories about these planes basically being, remote controlled and all this? If there were planes. Many people believe there were not. If you look at the footage, they look like holograms. But if you want to imagine that something did strike the buildings, which it was obvious something did, then it was probably remote controlled and it wasn't a plane at all. So then they land the plane in the lake, and a regretful Corky learns his lesson and is punished for his actions. Joyriding is a dangerous game to play. Sure is. There's your TT. Unreal. Now, there is much more to this than meets the eye, because if you think about it, when she turns into an eagle, the eagle really is a pterodactyl. It's the reptilian. That's what it really is. When you see the eagle as the American symbol of freedom, really, it's the pterodactyl. It's the reptilian in disguise. It's the feathered serpent. This is crazy. So, there's much more to the Wonder Twins. Let's get into that. This is the planet Exor, which, remember, we uncovered that the word Exor, the name Exor, the definition is that it deals with medicine. But there's something else really weird about Exor, and we might as well call it Exorgasm, because there's something weird going on with Exor. Now, remember, this was a children's show, but yet, here it is. Let's read. Exorians are pretty quiet, modest, and sensible people, unless there's a thunderstorm. Whenever there's a thunderstorm, Exorian adults will drop whatever they're doing and start tearing off their clothes. Driven mad with thunderlust, Exorians writhe together, bonded into a single rhythm with the night. That sounds like something that people do that we can't say when there's multiple people doing it together. Men become women, women become animals, and the night throbs with their pleasure. This was a children's show. This is where the Wonder Twins were born. This is where they're from. That behavior is not restricted only to the planet Exor. Zan experienced his first thunderlust right here on Earth, which means in the Exorian culture that Zan became a man. Wow. Wonder Twins number 1. What is this? That's the footnote there. So here's the planet here, and as you can see, it's got the rings. A ring of Saturn, you can call it. But here's the planet and the spaceship. So what are the implications here? Let's wrap this up on the Wonder Twins. I wanted to follow up because there was a couple things we needed to talk about. You got ping pong, which is an act, a code. It's a code word for an act. You've got the planet of medicine. You've got being born out of a spamdemic. You've got twins being born out of a spamdemic. You have gender confusion. Does any of this ring a bell? It's happening right now. Now, of course, Zan and Jaina were enslaved until they both turned 20 years old. That would be 20 and 20. And this is the year that we've experienced all of this happening right before our eyes. Now, let's move into some other stories. As I pull you guys up off the floor because many of you are just in shock right now. You didn't know that this was the backstory of the Wonder Twins, but yet there it is right there in print. Now, of course, all that's footnoted. You can look all that up for yourself if you want, but it's the truth. And I'll put the links to all that in the pinned comment. Yes, it's a very sick world we live in. Now, let's move into these other stories here. Because anytime that there's something is perfectly prepared that hasn't happened yet, just before it happens, it's kind of hard to believe that what happened is an accident, right? And the U.S. military was fully prepared just 2 years before the spamdemic with a digital VC tracking system. Let's read. DoD tracking CV VCs with new electronic health record system. The military was already developing a digital VC tracking system before the CV19 outbreak. This is a story by Aaron Boyd, on March 12th. The Defense Department's relatively new electronic health record system, military health system, Genesis, is being used to track VCs against CV19, building a database of inoculations, and ensuring the process is fast and safe for service members. They began deploying Genesis in 2017. The system has been steadily rolling out in waves since that time. Save for a brief pause at the start of the spamdemic, they probably didn't want to draw attention to the fact that they already had this set up. Throughout 2020, like most of Americans, the entire military health system has faced very unique challenges, said Brigadier General Ned Appenzeller, Assistant Director for Combat Support at the Defense Health Agency. Told reporters as the launch schedule resumed. However, even with those challenges, I think they're still on track to fully deploy Genesis by the end of 23. So it's set up, but it hasn't been fully deployed. 2023, 223, 322 backwards. System has been deployed to more than 20 medical facilities as of March. It is now being used to track VCs throughout the military. Wow. In total, DoD has administered 1.3 million doses of the VC. You're going to hear this number again because Mr. T said that he was doing 1.3 million doses a month just before he left office. And we're also going to hear in his own words that he's telling people to go out and get it. We're talking about the implications of that. The VC database, MassVax, look at this. Wow. Consolidates VC records from DoD and U.S. Coast Guard medical facilities to more accurately track and ensure that the DoD's patients population has received CV19 VCs, considered essentially to both a ready medical force and medically ready force. Okay. MassVax is designed to help us quickly record who gave what medicine or what VC, as well as when and where it was given. Now, we all know that before they roll things out to us, oftentimes they'll test it in the military first. We had this with the internet, right? So imagine that this might eventually be rolled out to all of us. MassVax. MHS Genesis and its MassVax capability have enhanced safety and efficiency at our VC sites. So it's all about clinicians, patient data, digitizing the VC process, which allows the DoD to track dosing. So this is your surveillance, but also speeds up the process. So this is where everything's headed. There will be the VC'd and the not VC'd. It will be in groups, and those who aren't won't have the same rights and privileges as those that are. That's where it's headed. And we told you this was going to happen. And now here it is. And if you have a problem with shots, Now they've got a pill, or they're working on a pill. This is dated Tuesday, March 16th. Could a potential oral CVVC be the new alternative to a VC shot? Well, this is what they're working on. If you're not a fan of needles, how about a VC you can take with a glass of water? That's what San Francisco biotech company Vaxart is working on. Scientific advances during the spamdemic are helping to turn innovative ideas into potential products and fast-track pharmaceuticals through red tape. Earlier this month, 7 on Your Side showed you Gaithersburg, Maryland company Altimmune, which is developing CV nose spray. So now you can snort your VC if you want. Wow. So that's what's on the horizon. They're going to have every way, shape, and form to get you VC'd. And here's our next story. The C to the D to the C wants to track your adverse events after you get the VC. Now, why would they want to do this? Well, I believe this is damage control. Here's what's going on in Europe right now. Several countries have pulled AstraZeneca's VC off the shelf because of blood issues. You guys, America's version of the VC is causing blood issues too. But yet they try to minimize this in the news. This is the Sun, and I think the New York Times also reported on the story. There's 36 people, and this was dated February, so there's probably even more. Developed a rare blood disorder after getting Moderna and Pfizer VCs. We have no idea how each individual person's immune system will react to a foreign body. That is the bottom line truth, and nobody will deny that. And it could be fatal, as in these instances, 36 separate people, and this was dated last month. This number's probably doubled, as they fast-tracked us into 38 million so far that have been fully VC'd in America. 1 in every 10 people has taken the bait. So, this to me is damage control. They want to write it off, pretend they investigated, make sure they've got everybody accounted for who feels anything, and then wash it away, whitewash it, which is exactly what AstraZeneca is doing right now. Even as their product's being pulled off the shelf, they're still denying that there's a connection. Wow. Feeling fatigued or feverish after your CV19 VC? Here's why the CDC wants to know. Thus far, the data that's been gathered suggests that the majority of reactions to the shots are mild, including things like headache, fever, fatigue, and nausea. But with over 38 million people in the U.S. now fully VC'd, the C to the D to the C and prevention is continuing to gather information about how those who get the VCs are responding, doing it through an as of yet little known app called VSafe. It's a smartphone-based tool that uses text messaging and web surveys to provide personalized health check-ins after you receive the CV19 VC. The program asks you to report any side effects you experience after the VC, and depending on their severity, may prompt someone from the C to the D to the C to reach out for more information. This week, the app received criticism for the fact that it's available only on smartphone, excluding the millions of people in the U.S. who do not have one. Wow. So that's the word on that. Now, they've also brought VC passports back into the debate. Let's take a look at this. The promise and the pitfalls. VC passports. Millions of people are being VC'd against the CV every day. While that's undoubtedly good news, this growing share of the population with CV19 immunity creates a conundrum for decision makers as they plan a gradual reopening of the country. On one hand, there are costs to asking VC'd people to endure the isolation of lockdowns when they face little risk from the virus. On the other hand, lifting restrictions to accommodate them would put un-VC'd people in danger. The people that are not VC'd don't want to be VC'd. That's probably why they're not. And this is why they keep pushing this in the media to get people to get it. They're having to sell them on it. They're creating the illusion that it's in short supply, and that's why people aren't getting it. And the illusion that they have people waiting in line until you're approved for it, for your particular group. The fact of the matter is, they can't get enough people. Several countries have begun exploring a possible solution to this problem. VC passports provide official proof that someone has been VC'd and grant them access to activities that are off limits to others. Now, we told you this was coming all the way back when this whole thing started in February or March. We were telling you that this would be the end game. People told us we were crazy. But yet, here it is. This is what they're considering. Gizreel is already doing it. Green Pass gives immune citizens the freedom to do a long list of things that had largely been forbidden. UK, European Union have announced plans to roll out their own versions of the Green Pass in the near future. So say goodbye to your European travel if you don't want a VC. That's over now. Now, they're saying there's no official plans here in the U.S., but Biden has ordered his administration to access the feasibility of creating a digital VC tracking database. So here it is, you guys. The window of opportunity is now closing. And we didn't wake enough people up. This is going to be our future. If you're not jabbed, you won't be free. It's here. Let that sink in for a second. Now, last part of the show here. If there are any doubts in your mind about Trump, any doubts whatsoever about his intentions from the very beginning, we're going to put them all to rest right now. In his own words, appeared on Fox News. We're going to start at 8:20. I want you to listen to his own words.
I've always felt it was the most important is the vaccine. The key was always going to be the vaccine. And when Biden got the vaccine in December, and on January 20th, he made a statement that he doesn't think we have vaccines now.
So more partisan politics, because they're all working together. The end result is that they're trying to get as many people as possible VC'd. All this is just squabbling over who gets the credit and people taking shots at each other. And that's all meant to divide you. There's a reason why Mr. T is finally right now, and actually he did this a few weeks ago at CPAC. He also said everyone needs to get their shots. That was the beginning. That was the first time he said everyone should do it. And then notice he's not president anymore, so they can't blame him. This is why he's doing it. Now, if we skip over to 9 minutes and 30 seconds, he admits here that they had no idea if this VC was going to work or hurt people. This is, is anybody awake?
So not only did we have the vaccine, and one thing we did, we took a big bet on this. We started manufacturing the vaccine before we really knew it worked. We saved many, many months. And
they started manufacturing before they knew if it really worked. Now think about this for a second. You spend millions and millions and billions of dollars on something, and what is the incentive? The incentive is, oh, well, it kind of works. We can fudge the rest. We've already made it. We've already spent the money. To avoid embarrassment, even if people are dropping out from it, let's just do it. Let's just put it out there. That's the incentive, you see? That's the possible angle of corruption. This is why you don't make something unless you know it works and you know it's not going to harm people. The problem is they couldn't wait to do the clinical trials. We are the clinical trial. And people are dropping out. There are a lot of people dropping out that they are denying that there is a connection to the VC. But yet, AstraZeneca is saying the same thing. They're denying the connection, but yet theirs is being pulled off the shelves because the European countries believe there is a connection. So, what are we supposed to just trust the pharmaceutical companies and trust the media that there's no connection? Is anybody awake? You guys are, but a lot of people are not.
Millions of lives by doing that, because you wouldn't have the vaccine right now if we didn't take that chance. We knew what we were doing. We the risk of the war.
Also got the vaccine.
Now, here she asks him point blank, and this is what I was saying from the very beginning. You don't make millions and millions of doses for every single man, woman, and child unless you plan to use it on every single man, woman, and child. You're not just going to let them sit on a shelf. This was the intent from the beginning. People are like, no, it's a choice. Who cares if he's making 300 million doses? It's the choice. He's giving you a choice. Wake up, you guys.
Would you recommend to our audience that they get the vaccine then?
I would recommend it, and I would recommend it to a lot of people that don't want to get it, and a lot of those people voted for me, frankly. But, you know, again, we have our freedoms, and we have to live by that, and I agree with that also. But it's a great vaccine, it's a safe vaccine, and it's something that works. And
so here's how partisan politics works. People will go out and get this just to support and just to spite Biden. Just because he says it, because he's endorsing it. That's how powerful the Trump supporters, that's how powerful his power is. People will go out and get it just because they love Trump so much and think he should still be president based on his words. So this is how they're going to get more numbers of people to get it. Make no mistake, you're going to see a surge of people going out to get it after hearing this Fox News spot with Trump on the phone. Now, here's the crazy thing about this spot. It starts out talking about the border and the border crisis. And it's very compelling. You know, if you're in the right-left paradigm, he talks about why would Biden reverse all my decisions? Look what it's done. The gas prices have gone up now because of Biden. We're going to have the hugest tax hike in U.S. history. All of this is in this interview. And he's right. But understand that they're both working together. This is what's happening here. They're both working together to keep the divide going. Okay? And then, how do I know this? Because in the very next sentence, after talking about the border problem, he uses and weaponizes that division that he just basically, what's the word I'm looking for? He just confirmed and reinforced the division, and then he weaponizes it to then ask you in support of him to go get the VC so that he can look successful in what he did, so he can get the credit. This is what they do. They use the division to then push an agenda forward. And all that matters to these people right now is that as many people as possible go out and get this VC. Doesn't this all sound very creepy to you? Why would they be so consumed with this, where both sides are actually now working together secretly to get everyone to get this? I see this as clear as day. The hard part is convincing people that are locked in the right-left paradigm as to what's happening. They don't want to see it. They keep seeing this through the lens of Trump versus Biden, and it's just not that. Because if it was, then Biden would oppose Trump just to oppose him. He would either come up with his own VC, or I don't know what they would do, or he would say you don't need one at all. That's typically what we see with the right-left paradigm. But in this case, they work together. So there you go, in his own words. And this will continue. He'll keep supporting Biden by telling everyone to go get the VC, which it really does support Biden when he says that. You know that, right? And then Biden will continue to try to take the credit, and that will keep people divided. And they'll go, no, he didn't do it, Trump did, and we're going to go get the VC just to prove him wrong. You see how this works for people with a weak mind? They fall right into the trap. So it's the bait and switch, and that's the story. Now let's go into the chat here. Both sides are pushing the CV. Exactly, Tom. Tom gets it. And all of you guys get it too. But outside of this tiny channel, a lot of people don't get it. They're sitting there fighting over who gets credit for the VC, not even realizing that a year ago, they would have never taken a VC. And that up to this point, we all understood in the truth community that VCs were horrible. And now all of a sudden, everyone's saying they're good. And who should get the credit for it? So we'll follow the European story and figure out how that all shakes out, because they're pulling those off the shelves. Now, I don't know what's different about Europe and how some of these countries have the power to oppose the pharmaceutical companies. But here we are hook, line, and sinker, lockstep with these pharmaceutical companies. We never oppose the pharmaceutical. And it's funny because at the end of this interview, Trump pretends like he opposes the pharmaceutical companies. It's hilarious on its face. Oh, I've lowered drug prices. I went up against the pharmaceutical companies. No, you wrote the pharmaceutical companies $1 trillion check to develop the VCs. And you gave this to like 20 pharmaceutical companies so that they could race to the VC. You gave them our tax dollars. So don't try to pretend like you didn't.
We've been working round the clock many years from now if I didn't get involved and if we didn't get involved.
Yeah, tell me more about that. I remember you were talking about when you were in office, you were talking about the meeting that you held, support to work together. That one FDA, how was it that you were able?
Well, I wouldn't say the FDA loves me, but I pushed them very, very hard, harder than they've ever been pushed. And a number of the people in the FDA admitted that. And at the end, they were very happy. But they did not like me. In fact, they wanted to announce it sometime after the election because they just didn't. I think most people knew we pretty much had the vaccine before the election, but they wanted to announce it along with the drug companies who are not fans of mine, because if you look at favored nations and all of the things I've done.
So he's trying to claim that the pharmaceutical companies were not fans of his because he basically made a deal with the pharmaceutical companies that we would enjoy the lowest prices on drugs. It's called a favored nation. Okay. And we did, but they just did that because they knew they were going to get $1 trillion to develop the VC. That's why they did it. So he made a deal, and they all knew that this was going to go on for decades, that every year they were going to get to come out with new VCs that then now the government would push on people, stealing your rights, not letting you get on an airplane, not letting you go to a concert, not letting you go to a football game unless you have it. He knew this, and the pharmaceutical companies knew this. And this is why they gave up drug prices under the favored nations agreement and gave us lower drug costs for a few years while he was in office, because the backside was trillions of dollars in profits. Think about it. It's a forced business. It's a government endorsed and enforced business. The endless string of VC products indefinitely. I'm so angry right now. I can't even put it in words, but I got to keep my cool, because I got to communicate this in a way till you finally understand it. Because people are still on the fence. They don't get it. And I'm telling you the truth. We are going to be enslaved in a VC society for our lifetimes and our children's lifetimes. So, unbelievable. And we still have people running cover for Trump and still don't get it. Channels out there saying, oh, he's not such a bad guy. He was the tip of the spear. He sold us out. He got it done when no one else could. Imagine that he has basically birthed in a new form of American life. They've weaponized the fear of disease to take away your rights. It was the only way they could do it. They can't take your rights any other way. They have to do it through public safety. And this is how they get other people on their side. All of the people that are germaphobes are going to go after the people that aren't. I've got friends and family telling me, you should wash your hands. You should wear a mask. You don't get me sick. And they're like, this is my right to have a barrier between me and you. This is hogwash. We've lost our minds. We've lost our minds. And it makes me so mad. So hopefully I got through to some people today to understand what just happened to us and what's happening to us right now. The tip of the spear was successful. He got it done when no other president could. And here we are. And they're all laughing in the background, patting each other on the back, going, aha, you finally did it, man. You did it. We've been working on this for decades. Now, look, we got him. We'll just keep coming up with new variants and strains. And every year we'll have 5 or 10 VCs. We'll make $1 trillion every year. Fleece the Americans. And then we'll raise their insurance. We'll say, hey, sorry, all these VCs are costing a lot of money. Your insurance premiums just went up. It's now 20% of your income. We'll just take that right off the top in taxes. 20% of your income for your health care, your insurance premiums. Sorry, it's mandatory. We got to control it. It's a spamdemic. And the spamdemic will just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on until people start just killing themselves because people can't sustain this kind of stress and fear. Look what it's doing to our children right now. They're dropping like flies. So that's the truth if you really want to know. And I just showed you, we started the show showing you how a beloved set of twins in a cartoon that most of us grew up on who were in our 40s, we now find out that they were on a planet having a giant... I just can't. I can't anymore. You guys, this stuff, it makes me sick to my stomach. But I have to show you, because if you don't see it, you'll never know. You'll see this world through eyes of ignorance. I hate covering this stuff, but unless you see it, you will never know. You will simply walk through this life, walking through every single trap they set for you, unless you see channels like this. So, I'm going to get off my soapbox now, let you guys talk a little bit. And what is the hope? Okay, so I just gave you guys a word sandwich, and I know it sounds depressing, but it's really not. You got to step outside of everything that you learned. Stop believing them. Stop getting worked up over the right and the left. Stop buying into the border debate, for instance. Just stop. Just realize both sides are working together. They could have solved this problem a long time ago. They decide not to solve the problem to keep you tripped up. Yes, you have the Holy Spirit, Tanya. The Spirit keeps you centered under Christ so that you're not going in and out with the tide with these people, because this is what these people want you to do. You're not living in fear, thinking every new strain is going to kill you. You see the difference? There's no need for fear. Don't buy into their fear. You're covered by the blood of the Lamb, no matter what happens to you. No weapon shall prosper. It is written. Okay? And if something does take you out, you got a fast pass to heaven because you stood your ground. What is all this fear about? What is all this debate about? People, who gets credit for making the VC? I mean, this is just ridiculous. People are really fighting over that. It's all to keep you divided. Step outside of that, and then guess what? Life gets really great. Life gets really great because you stop all that, and then what are you focused on? You're focused on getting out of the system, which you totally can. You get yourself some land, get yourself a small property that's paid off. You're not paying a mortgage on it. You pay your $100 in your property taxes. You make yourself a greenhouse, and you call it good. You stop all this nonsense and madness, careers, and spending all of your time in a career that's sucking up 50 hours a week of your life, paying a mortgage in a house, overpriced house worth $400,000 is not even worth that much. Paying for 30 years in a mortgage, stealing all your time away from your children. You wake up and you knock it off. You start living your life like Jesus did. You have the things that you need. And that's it. A couple things. You could fit it. Guys, my whole life over the past 10 years fits in my truck. My entire life. fits in my truck. And if your life doesn't fit in your truck, and you got all these things, then you might be buying into the B system. You might be setting yourself up to have to make decisions down the line and try to protect your stuff and, make sure you can pay that mortgage. So you got to sell out to your boss. You got to sell out to your boss. And if he asks you to do something, we used to work for pharmaceutical companies, as you guys know, and gladly, I never sold VCs, but many of my counterparts did. And when a new VC came on the market, you had to sell it or you didn't pay your mortgage. One very brave woman, Brandy Vaughn, gave up her life for what she believed in. She went up against them. She saw the VC was harming people, and she stood up, and it cost her life. She's gone now. Would you give up your life to stand up for what you believe in? Most people would not. And if you wouldn't give up your life, they could threaten your children, and then you would give in. She did it at risk to her child and herself, knowing that they could come after both. Now they're trying to say that, what did they say it was? Natural causes. Oh, they said she had a thromboembolism. As if you couldn't create something like that with frequencies from some kind of frequency weapon. I'm just so sick of this. So, don't get depressed about all this. This should make you guys happy to understand. But yeah, if you're still holding on to believing in Trump or so sad that Biden got power, it doesn't matter who's in power. They're both doing the same thing. And yeah, Biden's going to raise taxes, but they've raised taxes before and we've survived it. Big deal. It's all just a shell game. If he can't raise taxes on someone who's making 10 grand a year because they're already not paying taxes. So if you're living in God's plan, it's not going to affect you. But if you're bought into the system and you're like, I'm going to make $1 million next year and I made less money, then you're protecting your stuff. So now all of a sudden you hate Biden. You see how this works? Dump Trump, you dump the whole thing, Lisa. Not just Trump, you dump Biden, you dump them all because none of them are worth anything. We're just on a yo-yo. And you got to jump off of it. Jump off of it. Be happy with the things you have. Don't always need new things. Don't always need to upgrade. Don't replace something till it's broken. Keep your car for 20 years if you can. Keep fixing it. Don't get yourself in car payments. New car payments, which then increases your car insurance. Car insurance goes up 3 times over. And you got a car payment, which again enslaves you. I mean, I thought in the truth community, we all understood this, but somebody came into the truth community and just really turned everything around and got everybody all sidetracked. I'm so mad at those channels because they forgot everything that they stood for and they totally got behind Trump. And then when the VC came out, they couldn't backtrack, so they just ran cover for him. Oh, it's a choice. You don't have to do it. And meanwhile, the whole thing was getting solidified and set up and confirmed and strengthened. And we just were losing every single day that they kept running cover. It's a choice. You don't have to take it. Well, guess what? Notice how every single day since then, it's just been less and less of a choice. And it's becoming more and more social pressure. And now they're threatening to not let us travel. That makes me so mad. That one day in America, you'd have to have a VC passport to go anywhere. Now, there's some new videos because Biden's under fierce scrutiny because he doesn't do any live report, doesn't get up in front of reporters live. And everyone's like, why? So there was this video that came out and he was clearly on like a green screen. They were pretending like he was walking in a field. I can't think of the channel off the top of my head, but you see the microphones from the reporters at the bottom of the screen. And then, let's look it up. Someone must have screenshot this. Biden reporters fake. Let's see if we can. Let's see here. Images. See if they show the hand. over the mic. Small YouTube channel. I think he's got 15,000. If you guys know about this video, please share it with people in the chat. This is breaking, actually. And they show the mics, and his hand goes over the top of one of these mics. So it's like green screen or something. And so basically, it's not even real that he's being interviewed by reporters. So, to me, it was pretty convincing. Normally, I don't cover those kinds of anomalies, like video anomalies, because oftentimes they can be explained away. But in this particular case, I watched this morning. I was shocked. I was like, his hand clearly went fully over the top of the microphone that's supposed to be. It was weird. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Oh, so Gon showed it. Okay, good. So Gon's Face Like the Sun showed it. So thanks for that. Go to his channel. Tell him we sent you. Say, hey, Enter the Stars is talking about this. And who else had it? There was a small channel that I think broke it, and I really feel bad I forgot the name of the channel. But crazy stuff, you guys. Crazy days we live in. And it's not one of those weird video anomalies. It is literally, they screwed up. So, busted, right? How do we get through to the brainwashed people? Says owner Baduna. You got to show them videos like this. And I hate to say that because this isn't about self-promotion. This is about getting the truth out. And I always tell you guys, if 1 million people, or let's say 60,000 people saw every one of our shows, if we had 500,000 or 1 million subscribers, like some of the other channels that just show you clips of, news headlines about weird stuff going on around the world, the world would change. I honestly believe that. If you could show people the dialogue that we have on this channel, because you guys are all really talented people. You guys make this channel. You guys are this channel. I get most of our information and discussions from all of you in the chat and things you email me and send me. And if more people could see this channel, it would change people's minds. It would influence them to wake up to all this. But here we are since 2012, sitting at less than 100,000 subscribers. We've been putting up videos every single day. So what's the disconnect? I don't know what the disconnect is. I feel like we do great work here. I do feel like the work's gotten better over the last 2 or 3 years. I've gotten more serious about it. I prepare show notes for every single show. I'm putting in the effort to make sure you guys are armed with accurate information that is actionable, that you can share, that you can show to people, and you can stand your ground and not feel embarrassed, not feel like you're sending someone into something that you're going to have to explain away later. We don't buy into any of the fake stuff that ends up coming up fake later. A lot of channels will just jump on things and they'll say, oh, and then later they find out it's wrong. And I see a lot of this on my YouTube channel. On my Facebook page. I get a lot of people post things that later come up fake or not true. And they're not doing it on purpose, but that's what happens. And so at the end of the day, I've got to go through and root out all that because they've got our Facebook. Our Facebook group is on the chopping block now because so many people have posted things that aren't true or that get fact checked. If it gets fact checked, the group rules are please take it down. Don't make me have to go search through all of the posts, try to find the post. YouTube doesn't make it easy, but you know that you posted something and you know it got fact checked. Just take it down. Find a different way to post it without getting it fact checked, which puts the group in danger of getting deleted and basically makes it so we don't have a place to come and at least talk about stuff. So someone said their dad said I was disinformation. Ask them specifically what they mean by that. You got to challenge people. Say, what does he say that's disinformation? Then come back to me and I'll explain it to you. What they might be misunderstanding. Of course, people are going to try to write this channel off as disinformation because we're so effective at exposing this stuff. And especially people that love Trump. They're going to say we're disinformation. You guys, we've proven it. In the beginning, everyone was like, why are you so hard on him? Now you know. The minute he came out with that VC, that now you know. If that didn't do it for you, I don't know what will. But he made it. And never forget that. Never forget it. And now people are dropping out. People are literally dying. And there's a lot more that aren't even getting reported. Many of you have personal stories. Okay, here's what we're going to do now. We've got 879 people watching. How many of you know somebody that has taken the VC that had a really bad reaction? Some of you actually know people that have died from it. We're going to do a real study here. Okay? Swell said he found the video about Biden's hands. We'll call it hand mic gate. Right? Okay, so let's get back to this. How many of you know somebody who has dropped out after taking the VC, died, or had a really bad reaction? And we're going to do a percentage. So there's 879 of you watching. So if, let's do the numbers on this. So they're telling us that 500,000 people have died from CV19, right? So what is that? What percentage of that is, okay, let's do this. Okay. 500,000 divided by 320 million is 0.00. Well, it's like, is that 0.1% of people in the United States have died from CV19? What percent? Let's do this. Okay. Get ready to put in your 320. Oh, put another zero on there. 320. Oh, one more zero. Okay, that's 320. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. 0.16%. They're saying, remember, we have almost zero flu deaths this year. So this is hogwash. Not all those people died from anything. But this is what they're telling us, right? And they want you to believe. So if you believe them, it's 0.16% of Americans have died from CV19. Now, let's do the math on the number of people watching the show. 800, let's put 850 people. So remember that 0.16 number. Zoom this up so you guys can see this. So we're going to count how many people know somebody in this show that has dropped out, died, or severe, like hospitalized, or came down with some weird illness right after they got the VC. They had to go to the hospital, got very, very sick. And then we'll put that number in and we'll see the odds of you dying for CV19 or having a really bad reaction. Now, remember, can someone count them up for me, please? In the chat here. We're looking for a very bad reaction or death. Now, I know personally 2 people in my circle, we'll add those to the numbers. One was a woman that had previously brain cancer in her life, recovered from it years ago, was doing just fine, went out and got the VC. 3 days later, she died. Now, of course, you can't bring this up with families because they're going to have a shock reaction because those very families were the ones telling those people to go out and get the VC. So, of course, you can't confront them about it. It would be very inappropriate, right? You go, well, do you think that might have been caused of the VC? You might find, someone punching you or spitting on you for even inferring that, right? And here comes the numbers. Now, can someone total these up? It looks like a lot of you know 2 or 3 people that have had a reaction, a very bad reaction, or actually died days later. Now, of course, we don't know if they're connected, right? So we're not claiming that. But you got to look at, so obviously we've made our point here. The point has been made. Let's just put in a number here, because each of you looks like you've had known one person, at least one or two. I'm seeing two, some three. And this is no different than a poll that CNN would take or any of the other people. So they can't say this is fake. This is a poll. We're doing a poll here. Cross-section of people. So you guys get it. Your odds of dropping out from the VC or getting really sick are much higher than your odds of dying from CV19. It just is. So, wow. All right. Well, we've been on here a while. I want to keep you guys on here all day. I don't even know what we're going to cover tomorrow. I did watch a film called The Lodge. There wasn't a lot in The Lodge, but basically it opens with a front door saying 223, which is 322 backwards. That's the address on the door. Later in the film, these two children trick their stepmother because they're mad that their mother died, that their dad was going to divorce their mother. They were really mad about that. So the dad took them to a lodge on a trip, and with their stepmother, she wasn't really their stepmother, but she was like a surrogate stepmother, right? So they tricked this lady into believing she was in purgatory. They hid her medications. They hid everything in the house, up in the attic, and she thought she was in purgatory. Well, they did such a good job convincing her that she was in purgatory. Now, granted, this woman was a survivor of a cult. She was the only known survivor of this death cult. They had all killed themselves by drinking the Kool-Aid, and she had survived. And their dad hooked up with her because she became the subject of his book, talking about death cults. So that's the backdrop. So they're in this lodge, and these children, these mean children, convince this poor woman that she's in purgatory. And the boy fakes his hanging. It looks like he's hanging, but he's really not. But that's what she saw. And she really believes she's in purgatory. So she basically starts taking people out. I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Well, there's a part in the movie where the boy explains how they died. And he's like, something happened with the heater and we all suffocated. The very next scene, she looks at the calendar and it says 1/9. January 9th. They can't breathe? 1/9? And so this film was 2018. It's called The Lodge. Now, the film wasn't that great. So I didn't do a full decode on it because I just explained to you what I saw in the film. And that was pretty much about it. There wasn't really much else to report on that film. But a couple of you had asked me to watch The Lodge and decode that. So that's what I got out of it. So, all right. Well, I love each and every one of you. If you haven't already, be saved and don't be afraid. This isn't supposed to be a depressing show. This is supposed to snap you out of it so you can wake up and stop believing in men. There's still a way out. Still places you can go in this country and be free. You can still grow your own food and you can still have a little piece of land for almost nothing. You just have to decide that's what you want to do. I'm already there. I'm already at that point where I could turn my back on this whole thing. I don't need to ever go to another movie again. I don't need to have some stellar career. I don't need to go into the Matrix. I don't need new cars. I don't need any of that. I just want to be left alone in the woods, grow my own food. I don't want to be paying a bunch of taxes. I just want to be left alone. And many of you will get there too. God always provides a way out. You just have to decide you're going to walk through the door. Love each and every one of you. Have a great day.